Hello and welcome to my very first podcast. I'm very fortunate to be joined by Jon Walsh. Jon, just a short intro on you. So Jon is a SVP, Head of Strategy Europe for a digital company called EMX Digital that does programmatic media. He's also written quite a few articles online for companies like CoinRivet, City AM, and Cointelligence. And he writes about blockchain and cryptocurrencies, especially Bitcoin. And he's also a serial scam exposer and he supports Arsenal. Welcome, Jon.
Thank you very much, Lewis. It's great to be here. It's really good to have this chat.
No, I'm so glad to have you on. We've been trying to set this up for a while, but I'm glad we have time now because of the viral outbreak.
Being stuck at home, it means I have more time on my hands. It's good.
Always good. So let's get straight into it. I've got some interesting questions for you, and let's get to the meat of this conversation. So, being a scam exposer, you've come across quite a few different scams, and there's some common characteristics around them. So, what are the red flags that you would say define a scam?
So it's pretty simple, really. It's offering returns that are unbelievable. You know, if it, the old adage, if it sounds too good to be true, it's probably because it is. So the first red flag is definitely like this amazing offer. You can get this from me, and then when you kind of do any research on it, you're looking around on the internet. Either you're finding people that are already in it that think it's the best thing since sliced bread because they're making money, or you find scam reports on it. But what you won't find is things like the Wall Street Journal or Financial Times or pretty much any respectable newspaper writing about it as some kind of amazing new way to make money. I think the next thing is also, if you understand what is being sold here, it's generally investments. These kind of Ponzi schemes and pyramid schemes are often, basically they're selling an investment. You put so much money in, you wait a period, 60, 90, 120 days, 200 days, and out you get more money. Now that's an investment. That requires registering with the SEC or the FCA or whatever the financial regulator is in the area that you're in, if it's being sold in that area. And and even if it's through a cryptocurrency, you'll find that it's still an investment, as in that's how the regulators look at it. So not being registered, too good to be true, no mainstream coverage, and no regulator registration, or especially not in a proper environment, sort of UK, US, Australia, except even Australia's a bit dodgy. But that's pretty much it.
Great, I can't agree with you more. And that leads to my next question. I think we've actually spoken about this, and you've mentioned this, is that a lot of the social proof around schemes and scams they rely on social proof and to proliferate and to spread. So what do you see, what is the role of social proof in scams and to help scams perpetuate?
So this comes down to a number of things. First of which I think is about creating and building trust. So I want you, if I'm trying to sell you into, I think I've got this amazing thing and you'll make loads of money and I'm going to make a commission off you, but I'm actually really doing it for you. What if you're not smart enough to know what real due diligence is? You'll ask questions like, are you getting paid? Who else is being paid? And they'll want to show you lots and lots of other people who are also being paid and shouting about it. That form of social proof creates a feeling of, okay, cool, this isn't just one person trusting me, it's multiple. But then you've got different types of social proof where people who are pushing these scams unwittingly will want to kind of prove that they are somehow key people of influence in the wider industry. And so they'll go along to exhibitions or conferences on the kind of the wider topic and have their photos taken with people who are respected leaders in this space, and then show that off to somehow confer intelligence, confer knowledge, confer trust on me if I'm the one showing off these photographs. So how can I, of course I know all about this. And then there's a third type, which is getting well-known people to, or taking what well-known or famous people or well-respected people have said and taking their words out of context, or literally paying them to promote something they know nothing about in a kind of influencer style. And I've seen that a number of times.
Interesting. It sounds a lot to me like MLM or multi-level marketing. And why would you say? Because I mean, we're seeing a lot of MLMs using a crypto sort of flavor now. Why do you think? Why would you say MLMs and cryptocurrency go well together?
Well, I don't think they do go well together. I think that, I'm not the biggest fan of MLM in the first place, as I believe that most of them are glorified pyramid schemes. Now, when you involve cryptocurrency, which is an attempt at money, you can't put in a multi-level marketing structure. There isn't enough fat. It's a commodity. Money is a commodity. So so is oil. But with money, and especially, and we'll get into it about Karatbars with gold. Gold has a kind of a set market price. There really is not. No one's going to overpay for gold. So if there is multi-level commissions going down, well, it's not from the sale of gold, it's from something else. So it's this kind of smoke and mirrors, and OneCoin is the kind of daddy of crypto MLM, and that's the definitely in the top 5, possibly in the top 3 Ponzi schemes of all time, where nothing really existed other than promises and selling to people who really don't know about crypto. They don't know what makes a crypto. They've just heard of Bitcoin, and then they've heard about Bitcoin millionaires and billionaires, and they want some of it too, and they're not in great situations. And then, Auntie Jean on social media is now, she was selling Herbalife 4 months ago and Unique makeup a year before that, and now she's doing some gold thing. And this now makes more sense because you don't want makeup and you don't want diet pills or diet juices, but so it just kind of it's through this social media. MLM proliferates, and because of that, there's also a lot of dumb people or uneducated people, because there's so many people on Facebook or on Twitter, but Facebook in particular. And Facebook actually itself now has a demonstrably older audience. They're not able to appeal so much to the younger audience on the core Facebook product. But, it is Auntie Jean and Grandpa Joe that are doing these things now. And they've grown up, they've lived where they've always lived, and, they've probably not really had that much success in life. They're probably not doctors, they're probably not PhDs, they're probably not accountants or lawyers, or have actually run companies, or physicists or economists. So they don't understand how this stuff just doesn't really work, and it's just all a pipe dream.
I have to agree with you. I don't support MLM companies, stuff like Herbalife, anything that works on a recruitment structure. I don't believe their business model is ethical. And like you said, it preys on vulnerable people and people that are looking for a break. And it promises big ideals and a second income or making money on the side. But in reality, it's not that easy. It's an illusion. So the next thing I want to ask you, and this is actually for the people watching. I found Jon online. He was very outspoken, and we met on a mutual distrust of Karatbars. So I think let's talk about that.
Sure.
And you've said this outright, that Karatbars is a scam. Why would you say it's a scam? And then let's talk just around general scams in crypto, but more specifically Karatbars.
So I'm quite happy being on record. I've said it multiple times that Karatbars is a scam, and I think it's actually a really good question to dig into why why would I say that? Why would I be so confident? Well, the onus on proving that they're not a scam goes back to Karatbars. They're teams of commission salespeople or affiliates or whatever you want to call them, all over social media, trying to recruit more people into it. But there's a lot of question marks around their business, their assets, their business model, how they work. And I could accept one red flag. It was a smallish one. I could accept one small flag. But there's so many. There's just so many that it pretty much cannot be a scam at this point, because if it wasn't, Karatbars would have come out with proof that everything that they've said is correct, everything they've said is honest, and there would be not just nice YouTube videos or Facebook Lives, but actually demonstration of audits, registration with security regulators around the world, and there would be real proof that they are doing and they have done what they said they are, and that simply isn't there. And I've been saying this for long enough now, and I even recently invited Karatbars to sue me directly for defamation, which I believe, if what I'm saying is totally untrue and totally incorrect, I should be being sued. I should be taken to court. I'm sullying their good name if they're a good company, and I'm actually, from what I've been told, I'm actually doing damage to the affiliates being able to recruit, because people have seen what I've said and heard what I've said and are not joining and have been influenced by what I've said. So in that situation with a real company, there would be lawyers' letters aplenty. I should be dragged in front of court. I should be made to publicly apologize, and they should be taking all of my assets away from me as a way to show people that people saying bad things about their company is not acceptable. And that's not the reality we live in. That's not what's happening. That's not what's going on. So, yeah, I mean, if you want, I actually, in advance of this, I queued up a couple of videos about claims that Karatbars have made. And we can just have a little look at them. We can, see what makes sense there. If that's good with you.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so. So let's have a listen.
And over the following 5 years, our company has got some exciting timelines. July the 4th, Golden Independence Day, 100 KBC coins exchanged into 1 gram of gold. Then we have our mainnet, our blockchain launched in the month of September. Once our block...
I'm going to pause it there. So let's just look at those two little bits. July the 4th, anyone can exchange 100 KBC to 1 gram of gold. Now, that's actually not what happened. I believe that people could do that if they went to the July the 4th show itself, whatever that was, and the
Gold Independence Day event or something.
Yeah, so I believe that people could, but people in Papua New Guinea or Uganda or Midwest America couldn't, right? It wasn't available. People in London couldn't. There was no way of doing that. So there's this kind of sheen of, well, you can do it. What they don't tell you is, here's the hoops you have to jump through. You either have to go to Stuttgart, or you had to go, which is HQ, or you have to go to find one of their machines.
Yeah.
In order to exchange it, and then even then, it's only 1 gram of gold per person per day. So all of those little extra bits are mentioned. The second thing that was mentioned in that video was the launch of the Karatbars mainnet. I think it's called KaratNet. That was supposed to be September 2019. Today we're coming towards the end of March 2020, and it doesn't exist. So they're the first two things, very obvious. Those were I don't know. Lies? Is it a lie? Well, it definitely isn't the truth. Let's keep going.
Is launched, our KBC coin and our KCB coin will go from the Ethereum blockchain onto our mainnet blockchain. And
hasn't happened.
They will merge and become one coin called the gold standard coin, the GSC. How do you like that? The GSC, the gold standard coin. And then January 1st of 2020, we will move and see 75 of our gold standard coins equaling 1 gram of gold.
January 1st, 2020, 75 to 1. It will move down from 100 to 1, from 100 to 1 to 75 to 1, January the 1st. That's not happened. Again, we're towards the end of March 2020 now. Now she'll try and cover herself slightly, but we'll keep listening.
And these two dates, by the way, July the 4th, 2019, January the 1st, 2020, these are already, I hate to use the word guaranteed, okay, because that's a very scary word. But the convertibility of coins into gold is already set, okay, and promised.
So it's already set and promised. And those promises that had been set have been broken. They have not happened. And actually worse, the 100 to 1 is now being called a promotion. It was just a promotion. So people can't do it now.
For these two dates, July the 4th, and January the 1st of 2020.
So that video is available openly on YouTube. It's not a closed channel. And it's been watched 22,000, almost 23,000 times. And the issue is that people will hear that as true. You know, she's slightly backed out in terms of, I hate to use the word guaranteed, but heavily inferred is guaranteed, right? That's what happened in that call. Now, if she has recruited people underneath her, they'll have listened to her talking like that and have bought in based on that. And you know, the price of or the value of the KBC coin has absolutely plummeted about 99.5% since that video. That was on the July the 16th, 2009. That video was released. So you know, there's other stuff too, but if we just look at that alone, and you know, I'm actually looking at there's a graphic that goes along with this. It says October 2019 hard fork. That's just not the case. And people, you know, I think that a defense of that could possibly be, well, corporate didn't say that. Corporate hasn't said that. This is an independent affiliate sharing incorrect information. Well, if these people effectively work Karatbars, A, they've got that information from somewhere, and B, Karatbars are responsible for the information that gets put out. And I would, you know, I can be more forgiving of an individual making mistakes, but if that was a mistake, and it clearly is now as we enter the end of March, I would have pulled that video, or I'd have done a new video going, I was wrong, I made that mistake. So yeah, you know, there's lots of stuff, but this absolute bullshit promises that they wrote people in with. People are buying literally thin air. It's an ERC20. It's an Ethereum token that is entirely centralized. All of the choke and control of how it works and runs, and how it exists, is basically controlled by Karatbars, which is controlled by one person, which is Harold Steeds.
Exactly. And just about the gold backing, I mean, we've seen the price of gold move in the last few weeks.
Yep.
And KBC and Karatbars have changed the narrative around their coin, where first it was backed by gold.
Yes.
And now we're seeing stuff where it says in the marketing based on gold. So why the shift in that narrative.
I've seen linked to gold, and the point that I've made is this language is A, not technical, and B, not legal. So in a legal contract, if you're saying this is linked, this A is linked to this B, the linkage is not financially based in terms of the one equals the other. That's not what a link. The only language in economics and finance is backed by, which is why we have secured loans and unsecured loans. We don't have linked loans. That doesn't exist.
Yeah.
The gold. They own some gold? Yeah, absolutely. Have they sent out some gold to people? Yep, absolutely. I'm not saying it is zero gold. What I am saying is they do not have the amount of gold that they would owe if there was a run on them. If everybody goes, right, I now want to claim, they do not have it, which means they are lying. Is a liar. And the problem is that everyone else utters what Harold says. Even when Harold uses odd language and never really says anything, people go, it's amazing, it's brilliant. They've all drunk the kind of MLM Kool-Aid.
I like that analogy. And it's just as good as fiat money, because a government-backed currency is just backed by the good faith of the government.
Well, yeah, the fiat money is by decree. It has no essential value other than the government saying that they will support it. So there's nothing there. It's it's backed by nothing. We actually have zero reserve banking now. So so the KBC is no better, and I would argue it's a hell of a lot worse than fiat money. Fiat money, it's a unit of account and it's a medium of exchange. KBC and even the cash gold is not a unit of account, and it's most definitely not a medium of exchange. Gold is not a currency that is accepted within shops, within commerce, within trade. We work actually globally. Trade works in dollars. So even the gold that people have got that is real, I'm not doubting it's real.
Yeah.
It's kind of useless. And yes, you can. Well, it's useless, not valueless. So you can take it somewhere and they'll buy it off you at a price. Fine. But if you just want to buy gold, you can do it at much better places. I think the heart of this scam is in what they call the autosave. I think that's the term they use. And it's kind of like them saying you can buy the gold, but rather than look after it, we'll look after it for you. So we will store it and secure it, and it's safe, and you don't need to worry. So you're giving them money and getting a promise in return. Look, I've got no problem with gold. If you want to buy gold, and I think gold is a perfectly adequate, in fact, better than adequate form of a commodity to store your wealth in, buy it, own it, save it, put it in a safe. That's how you do it. Trusting other people to own that gold, especially where there's no proof, then there's no audit, there's no regulation around them, not a chance. You're asking for your money to be stolen.
Yeah, I've spoken to affiliates here in South Africa who've bought gold from Karatbars, and they've actually got it in custody with Karatbars because the shipping is so expensive to our country, and they actually not expecting to see that gold because, all they have is the promise that it's there in custody, but they still have to pay for that shipping, and they're not sure if they'll actually receive that gold. If everyone, they could oversell the physical gold storage as well. What they have there.
If only there was physical gold in South Africa that people could go and buy directly.
If
only, right?
If only a lot of the world's biggest gold mines were in South Africa.
Yeah. Seeing it's the same thing in I'm seeing Africans and Australians, affiliates throwing about this stuff, and it's like, you've got gold locally to you that you could just go and buy from gold dealers. It's really not a problem. MLM is the, using kind of current, up-to-date newsy type stuff. It is what is the virus that makes it spread, and it really is. If you look at the, they almost use that kind of virality. If you introduce 3 people, and they introduce 3 people, and they introduce 3 people, and and suddenly you can be a millionaire, and you're not going to actually look at what is it I'm selling here.
I think people understand virality very well at this point in time because of our societal changes. But let's talk around scams and crypto and how it's affecting the blockchain industry. So Bitcoin, I mean, it suffers quite a reputational dent when stuff like this happens. So would you say that we should rather invest in Bitcoin, or can we separate blockchain technology from Bitcoin as a payment mechanism?
So the way to understand this is that the first killer application of the internet all those years ago was email. But email is built on top of the internet. Cryptocurrencies, or Bitcoin specifically, was the killer application of blockchain. But blockchain can run more than cryptocurrency. So the blockchain industry has its own issues. I worked in it directly for about 18 months, doing blockchain education, strategy sessions, and working with companies for them to understand it better. And blockchain has multiple issues, all of which are human, none of which are technology really, in order to make it work. And for me, Bitcoin is the only. If you read the Bitcoin white paper, the word blockchain doesn't appear once. The blockchain is not the special bit about Bitcoin. Does that make sense?
Because I mean, the blockchain existed, or DLT, or distributed ledger technology existed before Bitcoin was around.
Yeah, and blockchain is a flavor of DLT. There's a lot of noise around blockchain, and having spent a lot of time in it, I think that the majority of blockchain use cases are undeliverable. I think we will see a few over the next 4 or 5 years that come out, and they're not going to be, and they will be world changing, but it's not going to be via a single company. It's going to be done in consortia, because that's how blockchain really works, and that's the problem that blockchain's had so far. As far as all the kind of crypto scams and what have you, I think that a lot of people do think that cryptocurrency as a whole is a scam, and my feeling is that they're 99% right. It's only really Bitcoin that isn't a scam, because there's no Bitcoin CEO, there's no Bitcoin board, there's no ad campaign for Bitcoin. No promises are made by Bitcoin. There are predictions made by people in the industry and some are bulls and some are bears, and it's fairly even to be able to listen to both sides and make up your own view and opinion. But Bitcoin isn't an investment program. It's a new form of money, or it's attempting to be a new form of money. Even Ethereum doesn't really try to be that. It's the Ethereum virtual machine, and it's about smart contracts and all the clever tech stuff. But I don't think that Ethereum is, although I would argue that Ethereum's main use case so far has been the creation of crypto Ponzi schemes.
Yeah.
I mean, every single one's been on Ethereum, including, by the way, Karatbars.
Just wanted to say, because there's no mainnet, so it's still an Ethereum coin.
And let's talk about the mainnet briefly. So let's say that they create their own blockchain. That ain't how it works. If it's a your own blockchain and you run all of the nodes, so you're controlling every verifying node, then other people cannot trust that, because it's wholly centralized. And the point of cryptocurrency and the point of blockchain is it's decentralized. And if you don't have that level of decentralization, then you can't trust it. And that is, I think that's the kind of killer point. So even if they have created or will create their own blockchain, which I doubt, they may fork someone else's or reproduce someone else's, but it's still 100% controlled by them, therefore untrustable.
Very, very good point. So, I mean, what Harold Zeiss and Karatbars says is that they want to bring gold to the people and secure wealth.
Yeah.
I mean, let's talk about the role of money in as a wealth store. What is money? What is the nature of money? Because that's an interesting philosophical question, and I think it ties into our general discussion here.
Yeah, sure. So, well, there's different ways. There's two different ways to look at this. The first way is money should act as a store of value, a medium of exchange, and a unit of account. And if we look at most money these days, fiat anyway, we'll use dollars. It's definitely a unit of account, no doubt about that. There's definitely a medium of exchange, no doubt about that. But it's not a store of value. We've seen the dollar erode by like 95% in purchasing power over the last 100 years. Therefore, we know it's not a store of value. So it should fit into those. And we see modern money, fiat money doesn't fit into that. Then the next way to look at what is money is it should be, and I'll try and remember all these, it should be robust. I'm not going to get quite the right word, but it should be able to survive. Durable is the right word. So, you have a fire, it survives. You have a flood, it survives. It should not be able to fritter away in the water. So durable is important. It should be highly divisible. And that's the problem with gold. It's not easy to be highly divisible. And I'll give Karatbars a little shout out. That I think it's interesting that they're doing this kind of micro gold measurements of 0.1 or a gram. I think that's interesting. Shame it's all a scam. It should be scarce. It should absolutely be scarce, and preferably finite. So gold does fit that, but dollars and pounds and euros don't fit that because of the couple of clicks of a mouse and we have an extra 100 billion. It should be uniform, or put in a more kind of economics term, it should be fungible, which is it all looks the same. And it's all accepted as the same. We just accept that your $10 and my $10 are interchangeable, and it doesn't matter which one we use.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think. There are others that I'm probably not getting.
And the maximum supply. I mean, Bitcoin has a maximum supply of 21 million.
Yes.
Whereas a fiat currency, I mean, we all know that reserve banks and the Fed in the US can just print more money.
Yes. Yes.
So, I mean,
that's it completely.
As a South African, I mean, our currency, the rand, has slipped a lot in the last couple of weeks. I mean, it's due to domestic issues, but also the global factors are coming into play. I mean, I think we're close to 20 rand to a pound and about 17 rand something to a dollar. So, I mean, as a South African, we live with that issue. If we keep our money in our government currency, it's not a good store of value at all.
No, this is it. And it's the same all around the world. South Africa is not unique in this. We have a money problem. And, for me, I can't see much beyond Bitcoin as a potential solution. I'm not saying it is the solution. I think it's a potential solution. Just due to the nature of it, how it is in the wild. I think it was very fragile at the beginning, and now I think it's a pretty solid asset. And we've even seen in the past 48 hours, the price of Bitcoin, rising by 20% and falling back down again by 10%. But I think that we're starting to see a decoupling, very kind of green shoots of a decoupling between Bitcoin value, Bitcoin price, and stock markets. And the moment I actually look forward to is where Bitcoin decouples from the rest of the crypto space, where people just realize there's only one thing that represents money here, and that's Bitcoin. And pretty much everything else is some greater or lesser flavor of scam or shitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, the Bitcoin maximalists that are hardcore Bitcoin people, they claim that, say, altcoins or other cryptocurrencies are just ways for people to get more Bitcoin. So, I mean, that's quite a to your point. And then this is something interesting I came across, the idea of Bitcoin being sort of an alternative investment fund. What do you think of that? Bitcoin what do you think of Bitcoin being an alternative type of investment fund instead of investing in traditional stocks or the stock market, storing your money in Bitcoin, say for retirement or for, you're just using it as an investment vehicle and then keeping it in there?
So my number one piece of advice is, I don't think you should invest in anything unless you've really been able to research it yourself. Whether that's stocks and shares, whether that's an ISA, whether that's Bitcoin or gold, you need to know why other people are doing it, not just follow a herd. So my recommendation is my own experience was that I actually learned about blockchain. I studied blockchain strategy at Said Business School, which is attached to Oxford University. It's the business school of Oxford. And I studied blockchain because I actually wasn't interested in crypto. I had no interest in Bitcoin, I had no interest in crypto. I was interested in the underlying technology. And then I had understood that, and I was starting to educate companies and organizations on what it was and how they could potentially use it. And it wasn't until quite late, really. It was like pretty much it was almost a year after the bull run. It was about September 2018. And I started to understand Bitcoin from an economic perspective. And it's like I could glue those two things together. So I get the technology, I get how it works, and now I get the economics. Now I get it. And that's what I would recommend. It's okay missing out. Don't have that fear of missing out if you're uneducated on a topic. And also don't trust one person. Don't trust people who have skin in that game already to tell you the straight up truth, especially if they're earning a commission off the back of it. And I include banks in that, right? If they're pushing their own products and they're not able to talk about other market products, well, they've got skin in that game. They've got a vested interest because they have an incentive to get you to buy it. So research, education.
Absolutely. I can't agree with you more. And we live in the era where all knowledge is accessible and open and free. So there's no excuse not to upskill.
But where are you getting the information from? That's the other thing. It's like you really need to just make sure that the people who are saying it, when you listen to them, they're talking about common sense and things outside here, and you're in the outside world, they're not. And if you don't understand something and you ask a question and they get annoyed with that question, walk away. There's something fishy there.
Good point. I mean, we should be allowed to ask uncomfortable questions and, be allowed to question stuff. That's the beauty of democracy and of freedom of speech. And Absolutely. People should live by those values.
You can ask anything of me. I can ask anything of you. If I think it's too private, I'm not going to tell you what I have in my bank account. I'm not going to tell you what I hold in cryptocurrency. I'm not going to give out my address live on the internet. But I'm pretty transparent. This is me. This is my real name is Jon Walsh, and I have a real open Twitter, and I'm on LinkedIn, and you can Google me. I'm a real person. And I'm as transparent as I can be without, I think, opening myself up for OPSEC issues. So
that's a very fine line.
I probably crossed that line already anyway, but
but you've got nothing to hide, so it's cool. So I think we're doing well for time. Just about one question, and then I think we can wrap it up.
Sure.
John, how's life currently in the UK? I mean, are you based in London? How is life there with the coronavirus and the current state of things?
You know what? It's all right. Apart from kind of empty supermarket shelves and what have you, like we're all doing all right. I'm sitting at my home office in my bedroom. I'm lucky enough that as a family, we have access to another property in the north of England, which is nice countryside, and that's currently where my partner and kids and dog are, and yeah, they're having a great time up there. Honestly, they've got rolling fields all around, and there's no one around for miles. They're happy. I'm happy. I've got people walking past on my street, and in the main, I'm feeling that Londoners, especially in public, we're being very respectful of space, which is a nice thing because we are used to being in London very close to each other, especially on public transport. So, I think the general mood is all right. We've still got the Prime Minister going on TV every day, trying to make the country okay. He'll do what he'll do. But yeah, I'm happy. My family's happy, and most people I speak to are fairly happy. And look, we've got social media, we've got Facebook, we've got Twitter, and everything else that exists today. Thank God. And thank God for Netflix. Thank God for Skype.
Thank God for Skype, because we wouldn't have been able to have this conversation, or Twitter for that matter, because we wouldn't have.
Exactly.
Yeah. So just one last thing. It's not a question, but can you please show us your hoodie and just explain? Just show us your hoodie, please, because that's a really interesting Bitcoin hoodie that you have there.
Yes. So I picked this.
Well.
There you go. This basically explains the Bitcoin emission and halving schedule. I will let other people Google into it so they can understand it. But effectively, Bitcoin halves every 210,000 blocks. And we started off at 50, and then that halves every 210,000 blocks. There will be 32 halvings, all the way down to when we have 0 more Bitcoin to come out. This is my favorite hoodie. I like math.
I love it. And we're almost due for that halving in about 2 months or so, just under 2 months.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit under. I think it's about 51 days now.
Is it?
The 21st of March today, so I think it's about 51 days away. And, we've been on this call for almost 50 minutes, which means that 5 new Bitcoin blocks have been produced, and Bitcoin's a little bit stronger now as a long term. But yeah, it's been great. And Lewis, thank you so much. It's been great to talk and great to share. And if Karatbars want to get in touch with me to take me to court, I'd be more than happy to do that. Let's set that up. And if Karatbars affiliates want to get in touch with me privately or publicly, my Twitter is at WALSHJONWALSH. That's at Walsh, Jon Walsh. And from there, you can find my LinkedIn, contact me. I'm not scary. But what I do want to do is have conversations with people like I've had today with Lewis. It's been great. Yeah, feel free to get in touch.
Cool. I think we should link all that stuff in the bio of this video, and maybe post the link to that video you played us a bit earlier.
Yeah, that's
just
a good idea.
For reference.
I'll send that over.
Great stuff. John, it's been a great time having you on. I have to chat again, and let's do this in future.
No, sure, star. Let's do it.
Cheers.
Bye, bud.